There's a new zombies experience coming to Call of Duty Vanguard at launch, and it's called Anfang. It's not quite a round-based map, it's not Outbreak, it's not Onslaught, it's something new, and I've been trying to wrap my head around how it works. It seems to lean into some heavy roguelike elements like the really popular Hades. It has elements of Outbreak and bits of Onslaught mixed into it, and there's some more traditional round-based zombies map stuff in there as well. There's still a lot of unknowns at this point, and I'll try to explain all the things I'm unsure about at the end of the video and kind of leave you with some questions that maybe some of you will be able to answer. So let me know in the comments if you can answer any of those questions. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and let's get started with the video. So, Anfang marks the start of a new zombie story for Vanguard. It's still made by Treyarch, it's still in the same timeline or sort of universe as the zombies mode in Black Ops Cold War, but this time we're heading back to World War II, where there's a Nazi who's getting desperate for a way to win the war and decides to turn to the occult to get an advantage. He forces a researcher, Kraft, to find an artifact for him that will let him control zombie hordes to win the war. The researcher also manages to find 4 others, and he sends out like a call for help because he doesn't want the Nazis to win the war. So our operators, Vanguard I guess, answer that call for help, and then he gives us the other 4 artifacts. Each of them are connected to one of these dark ether entities, kind of like gods or spirits, I guess, in the dark ether, that can talk to us and give us powers, and they're basically just the field upgrades from Black Ops Cold War, but this time they've got kind of a bit more lore and some voices attached to them. And we set out to stop the Nazis. That's basically the story. I'm sure there's a lot more depth to it. There's loads of stuff connected to intel from Black Ops Cold War. You know me, I'm not massively interested in the zombie story, so let's just talk about the gameplay stuff really. Anfang begins in a kind of hub area in Stalingrad. It seems to be based on the Red Star multiplayer map we saw in the beta. You know, the big snowy square one? That's the place where we're going to be. There's zombies that would attack you there. It's not like a safe hub area. It's not like the World War II hub area for multiplayer where you could just wander around. This is a place where zombies will still attack you. There's enemies spawning and stuff like that. And there's also some of the upgrade mechanics from previous zombie games. So you've got the pack-a-punch machine there. It looks exactly the same. You've got a crafting bench there. And a crafting bench now has some things that are kind of taken from that armor rack mannequin, so you get like your armor upgrades here as well as crafting traditional sort of tactical and lethal devices. Interestingly, on that menu, we saw a little glimpse of it, there's no menu of score streaks or weapon upgrades there, so I'm not sure if that's something you're still going to be able to do. It makes sense you wouldn't have score streaks because you don't have like Requiem backing you up like you did in Black Ops Cold War, but we can see that scrap's still being used as currency. I'm not sure if there's still 2 types of scrap. The bits of scrap that I could see in the videos so far, it looked like it didn't have like a color attached to it, so maybe they've simplified that system, which I don't think would be a bad thing. It seems like killing zombies in the area isn't going to progress rounds. Like, this isn't a round-based map exactly. So it's a bit more like Outbreak, where there's the number of zombies that you kill in this area is kind of irrelevant to progression. You can just use them as a sort of way to farm resources, and they act as a constant threat there, so you can't relax, you can't just like chill out there. You are constantly going to be getting attacked. The Covenant altar's also in this hub area, and we're going to talk about that a bit more later. And then there's also Perk Machines in the Stalingrad area, but these aren't in the place where you can explore at the beginning. These aren't in the bit that's accessible at the beginning. Many of them are going to be locked behind doors that don't need essence to pass through, like in the old zombies maps, you know, you just spend a number of points and that would open the door. Instead, there's a portal where the doorway should be, and you need to go through that portal and complete an objective. Now, at launch, and you'll hear this word quite a lot, you know, at launch, there'll be portals that take you to 3 different maps with 3 different objectives to do. These sound like the Outbreak objectives, you know, where like in Outbreak you teleport to a map and then there's a random objective to complete on that map, and it's not always the same one for each map. That's the sort of way it's working. So you go to the new map, you have to complete this objective, and then you move on. I get the impression the objectives start as soon as you load into the map, like you don't get to explore first like you do in Outbreak. I think it's much more you go in there and then the objectives start straight away. The 3 maps that are there at launch are Hotel Royale, which is that Paris hotel rooftop multiplayer map that we saw in the beta. Looks very cool. That was one of my favourite maps in the beta. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a cool play space. Shinonuma, which was weirdly, like, it's weird that they brought this back. It was the 3rd ever zombies map, way back in Call of Duty World at War. It was one of the first ones where they started introducing, you know, like more complex elements to zombies. It's set on a Japanese island. You can see some of the weird like spinning log traps and things like that from from the World at War version, which is cool. And then there's also Merville in France, which is the big burning windmill that you've probably seen in loads of the teaser trailers and screenshots for Vanguard. That area with the big windmill in the background, that's the third one of these maps. And when you get to the maps, you're immediately going to be thrust into completing one of 3 objectives. So either Blitz, which is like holdout with you surviving in an area for a time, Transmit, where you protect a floating head while it kind of searches around a level, or Harvest, where you collect runestones from zombies, kind of like in Kill Confirmed. You know, you kill them and they drop something, you run over them, pick them up, and then you deposit them at an obelisk. So there's only 3 objectives at the beginning, but it definitely sounds like they're going to add more. When you have completed an objective, you return to the hub in Stalingrad and you get awarded with some essence, some resources, and a Sacrificial Heart. This will also remove the portal, so then now you can like go through into a new area of Stalingrad. Like you've expanded the map a little bit, which is kind of interesting. And then that lets you get access to more perk machines. So you'll be able to decide which portals you go through based on which perk machines you want. You know, if you want to get the Juggernog one, you go through the portals in that part of the map. And I assume that there's areas with like maybe new secrets or Easter egg steps. I'm assuming that's how that's going to work. The perk machines aren't the sort of vending machines that we've seen before. They're more like these kind of crazy altars. They're really cool. They have some familiar symbols on them though. So they have like the perk symbol at the bottom of them. One of them's not too familiar. I mean, we've seen like Speed Cola, Juggernog, and Stamina Up, I think. And then there's one that looks like an animal's teeth biting. Like, I don't know a lot about zombies. Maybe that's a perk that we've seen before, but that looked new to me. I thought maybe it could be something that increases melee attack or gives you life leech or something like that. Now, completing one of these objectives in the portals will also increase the difficulty of the world. So just like an Outbreak, when you complete an objective and then come back or teleport to the next area, that's the thing that makes the world harder. That's the thing that increases difficulty, like the rounds used to in traditional zombie maps. This, I think, is quite a good change because it means that you don't need to be like trying to save the last zombie or accidentally killing the last zombies and moving on around when you didn't want to. It's a much more deliberate thing like it was in Outbreak, and I think that's a good move. Being able to like control when you're increasing the difficulty, when you're moving on rounds, I think is a good thing. The Sacrificial Hearts are the major new roguelike element though. So those are the big thing that I think is going to change the way people play zombies a lot and change how you engage with zombies, especially in terms of replayability. So each objective you complete will award one of these Sacrificial Hearts to every player. And you'll be able to use it at the Covenant altar back in Stalingrad and choose from one of 3 random buffs. So you'll go to this kind of altar thing, it will offer you 3 buffs and you can spend a heart to get one of those buffs. They vary in rarity, so they kind of go from like common, rare, up to legendary. So yeah, common, rare, epic, legendary, like the Trials machines did and stuff like that before in Black Ops Cold War, and they get better as the game goes on. So when you complete later objectives, you're more likely to get legendary perks offered to you. They have things like Brain Rot, as in the ammo mod, that's in there, so I'm guessing that's not in the Pack-a-Punch machine anymore. Or things like they could make melee kills give health back, or they could do things like any zombies that are killed by explosive damage have a chance to explode themselves, kind of causing a chain reaction. So there's some really cool, interesting things in there, and this is one of the things I'm most excited about. I feel like the random buffs are going to give it a lot of replayability, and it looks like you can only have 3 of these buffs on at once, so you need to choose almost like a build. So I think that'll be a really interesting thing where people will be looking at the meta about like what are the buffs you should be looking for. Like I said earlier, like in games like Hades, where you have like an idea of the buffs you want and you're going to keep on doing objectives to try and get those ones, but sometimes you'll go in a game and maybe it will offer you a buff that you didn't expect early on, and that'll change your idea of build, and then that game will be different. Maybe it'll push you down using more tactical equipment or more melee kills or more gun or more of a certain type of gun or something like that. I think that could be really interesting. Now also in terms of replayability, the portals going into multiplayer maps, that seems like the sort of thing where they could potentially just swap out the multiplayer maps at will. Like they could make it so at the moment you go into Hotel Royale and Merville and Shino Numa, maybe they could change it so in future you're going to go to Eagle's Nest and then maybe you're going to go to like Nakta and Toten, maybe they'll have that built or something, and maybe another area from the campaign or something like that. It feels like the sort of thing where they could swap out the places that those portals lead to quite easily. Like in Outbreak, we had new places that the portals could take you to, you know, every couple of months really. We had new places. They added quite a lot in the end, and they can add new objectives and things like that. So it'll be really interesting to have a zombies map where as time goes on they can actually change your experience on that map and keep it fresh. This isn't something they've announced at all, but I would love it if they had some sort of rota, you know, like Destiny's weekly thing where every Tuesday they update it. Imagine if like every Tuesday you had a new set of portals that would take you to new places, that would keep that fresh and make you go back in it for different things. Maybe they could add new buffs to the Sacrificial Altar, the Covenant Altar, and things like that. Could be really, really cool. Now, I'm assuming most of the main quest Easter egg stuff will happen in Stalingrad section. They haven't talked about the main quest at all, so I've got no idea. This is just speculation. But it'll be interesting to see how extensive that area is, like how big that area is and how many different things there are to do there. I'm glad that this feels really fresh and different. Like, I'm glad that this feels like a completely different zombies mode. It feels like something we haven't really seen before. It also seems like we're not going to get a separate Onslaught or Outbreak mode in this game. Even though Treyarch are in charge of the zombies again, from what they've said so far, it sounds like Der Anfang is it for zombies. Like, that's the only zombies experience we're getting. It makes sense, really, because in Vanguard, as far as I know, there's no big maps. There's no big map mode like Ground War or Fire Teams, so I guess there aren't any maps that they could use for a mode like Outbreak. So instead, Der Anfang has kind of smushed them all together into one. So, on to the big unknowns for me, the things that I don't know about this. I've got 5 questions that if you know the answer to, please leave it in the comments, because I'd be really interested to see. Or even if you're just speculating and you just like think you've got a good idea for this. So the first one is, and I think the most obvious one, is this it for Vanguard Zombies? Like, is this all we're getting for the whole year? This could potentially be a hub for all zombies content, where we're always going to start in Stalingrad and they just change out the portals and the places we go to with that, and maybe like change out the objectives and stuff like they did with Outbreak. You know how Outbreak is just really one mode, which they've changed bits of it, but the core experience has stayed the same. Is that what's going to happen with this? Or is this just a one-off? Is this just a weird type of map and then we're going to get more traditional round-based maps in future? That's a possibility. Or maybe there'll be more maps like Der Anfang. Maybe every map will have a hub area and then portals. Maybe that's how it's going to work. I've got absolutely no idea. It's so hard to tell what the long-term plan is because we've never really seen anything like this before. The second question is, how does Essence work with zombies? They didn't really talk about Essence very much in any of the videos or the blog posts or anything that they put up yesterday. They did mention Essence once in one of the blog posts. It does mention that there is Essence. If there's no way to move the rounds on while you're in Stalingrad by killing all of the zombies, is there unlimited zombies in there? Could you just keep on farming essence until you've like pack-punched everything to the max before you even go into one of the portals, before you do your first objective? That would seem kind of strange. Or maybe the zombies won't even give you any essence, or maybe they'll give you very much reduced essence, so instead you have to rely on what you get from objectives. Like, that wouldn't be the sensible way to do it from my point of view, is stop zombies from giving you essence at all. Maybe you could get salvage and stuff from them up to a cap before you do an objective, or maybe there'll be an essence cap before you do an objective, but make it so the objectives are the main way you get rewards. Third question, what are the runes for? In the blog, they mention them as being a source of intel, and they use them in one of the objective modes as a thing that you can gather, but in the video, they make a really big deal about them being something new to zombies. So it kind of feels like there should be something more to them, that there's going to be more some, like, maybe they're going to be used as a currency, maybe they're going to be used to unlock something, maybe they're going to replace like the Aether crystals which you used to get in Black Ops Cold War Zombies, which let you upgrade skills and weapons and stuff like that. I've got no idea. Question number 4, are the artifacts replacing the set crew for zombies? This has been a big point of contention for, I think, a lot of zombies fans, that in Black Ops Cold War, you didn't have like a crew. Instead, you had the operators. And it made a lot of sense why they did that, because they can sell skins for the operators, that you can get new operators. They want people who are just invested in zombies to spend money in microtransactions, so you kind of need things that they can be buying like that. But because you don't have the crew, you don't have that kind of dialogue, you don't have that banter, you can't really have story beats being voiced throughout it, which feels like a shame. Since the artifacts now, there's only 4 of them, 4 of these field upgrades, like 1 for Aether Shroud, 1 for the Energy Mine, 1 for Frost Blast, and 1 for Ring of Fire. They are each connected to these like entities that all have names and like a backstory, I'm assuming, and they're going to be talking to you throughout the game through the artifact. I wonder if they're going to like interact with each other. Are they going to do something where every player needs to have a different artifact? I don't think so, but maybe. So like you can't have 4 players all with the Aether Shroud one. Maybe someone's got to have 1 of each. Or maybe the game will do something where like if you all do have Aether Shroud, maybe they'll do something where like the game will acknowledge that and like it'll be the same entity talking to all 4 of you. I've got no idea how that's going to work. And then question number 5, is the Trials machine returning? Now, I quite liked the Trials machine when Black Ops Cold War Zombies first came out, But I feel like it ruined a part of the Easter eggs, because a lot of the time in Easter eggs there was quite a complex set of steps in order to unlock the wonder weapons, and a lot of the time people just couldn't be bothered to do those steps, and me included. Like, I still haven't actually done the proper steps to do it in Forsaken, because it was just much easier to do the trials and just rely on luck. And that makes this weird situation where you're kind of missing a bit of the content, and it's kind of frustrating if you keep on doing the trials and don't get it for like 5 goes, and then somebody else gets on their first go. That happened to us when we were hunting for the Forsaken Easter egg, where I know some people who were hunting at the same time as us, they got the Chrysalax from their very first set of trials. I did it 5 times before I got one. I'm not sure if I even got one then. I don't think I ever managed to get the Chrysalax from trials. And that's really, really frustrating. So I wouldn't mind it if they removed that. You could still have trials where you get like a random perk or something at the end, but just take the wonder weapons out, possibly. I'd quite like it to go back to a situation where the wonder weapon is only available from a quest, and then it comes up in the mystery box after you've done it in a quest. I think that's how Black Ops 4 worked, with like the Scorpion thing on 9 and stuff like that. I quite like that idea where you have to do the wonder weapon quest to get it the first time. I think that's a better system. So there's loads of things to find out about this. There's going to be loads to explore, loads to discover. I'll obviously be diving in on November 5th, doing the hunt, playing with friends, trying to find out everything that we can. Follow me on Twitch to join in when it all goes live. It'll be twitch.tv/Geeky Pastimes. And make sure on YouTube you subscribe and turn your notifications on. Then you'll get notified whenever I post new videos with Call of Duty Zombies content. And obviously there'll be loads of other things for Warzone and Battlefield and Halo and a bunch of other games. So make sure you turn those notifications on to get told as soon as I post new videos. Thank you very much, and goodbye.